welcome. If you like what you hear and see, please subscribe to the Be Your Own Kind YouTube channel. And if you're listening to the podcast, please follow me. Also, in the description box, you can find my Linktree link to all Be Your Own Kind related matters, such as the BYOK merch, where we sell items from t-shirts, sweatshirts, masks, and mugs. Also, you will find our website and the links to my social media. Also, we are always looking to collaborate with others, such as business owners, vloggers, bloggers, or just if you simply want to share your story. Last but not least, if you are looking to promote your business, Be Your Own Kind will gladly promote you. If you are interested in details, please email me at info@beyourownkind.com. Thank you for tuning in and for supporting the Be Your Own Kind platform. Hi, lovelies. How has 2021 been? I would quite say that it has been as eventful as 2020 with a hint of subtlety. Just a very small dash. My hopes for you is that you are finding ways to de-stress and taking out time for you. Self-care is very important, and we have to make sure we are still pouring into ourselves. Did you know that stress is rumored to be the #1 killer? When we don't take the time to de-stress and let go, it can affect us mentally and then transition to our physical health. Today, we meet with our guest Edmund Lee as he shares with us a story of how a stressful job gravely affected his health. He talks about how he looked within to decrease stress and regain his physical health. Edmund Lee is the upcoming author of the book Ed is Pain Free. His book will detail how he went from debilitating pain to being pain free. He has also dedicated his life to help others identify their stressors to regain their life. All right, you guys, let's take flight.
Treasure Glitz customizes stem and stemless glasses, mugs, shot glasses, you name it. I love showing off my personalized glasses. She has customized glasses for personal use and even for the Be Your Own Kind podcast. Customized drinkware is great for standing out at your event or relaxing in style at home. So order your item by calling or texting 708-299-7555 or by visiting the Treasure Glitz Facebook page.
Today, thank you for being a guest on the BYOK podcast.
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an author of the upcoming book, Ed is Pain Free. And that's where I share the story of how I went from debilitating pain to being pain free. So the thing about my journey is that it's a little bit unusual in that I experienced debilitating pain at the age of only 32. And then so pretty much what I do in the book and also the message I'm sharing is how I actually went from debilitating pain to pain free. And so I share what happened to me, what I believe actually caused it, and then also the steps that I took to heal myself over the years after searching and experimenting with different things.
Wow. So when is the book scheduled to release?
It should be sometime this year. So.
Oh, okay. That's exciting. You said you're still writing it?
Yes, I'm still writing it right now.
Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to that. I want to know your full story.
Okay.
So you just indicated that you grew ill at 32, and on your website it said that you felt like you were trapped in a 70-year-old body.
Yes.
What do you think were the main stresses that affected your health?
It was a couple of things, but let me start with the story first and foremost. So
Okay.
What happened was in 2014, right? I was at the age of 30. So my health was perfect. Okay. I was healthy. I felt great. And then what happened was I got into the dry cleaning business. And so when I got into the dry cleaning business at age 30, there was the environment was very, I'd say, toxic. You know, there was a lot of lying, manipulation. It's just a very stressful environment that the people that I was around and just the work environment in general. And so what happened was I was in that environment and I was working and I was just kind of pushing through it. And so it wasn't until I didn't really notice any physical pain or anything like that until 2 years later, until I got to the age of 32. And so it was at the age of 32 that the actual physical symptoms started to kick in. So what happened was like my body started to get really, really weak. You know, I would have muscle and just joint pain on a daily basis. So I would feel it in my legs, I feel it in my hips, I feel it in my back area, my arms. So everything would just be tight. And even when I was moving around, you know, it's almost like I was walking around like the Tin Man. And so I struggle with like the most basic movements, just getting out of bed in the morning, or, getting into the car or getting out of the car, or standing up. Like, for example, if I was getting on the ground and I was picking something up, right? Then I would have a hard time just getting back up and standing up. And so just those are some of the things that I went through, I went through at the age of 32 that I noticed that I didn't have 2 years previous when I started the business. And so, so a few other things that were happening was like, so those were the symptoms, and then it just started getting worse with time. So, I would have like back stiffness where like I'd be like, just yelling in pain because it hurts so much. And then like my neck, right? Literally my neck. Like this is my normal range of motion right now, where I can go like that, right? Left, and then I can turn this way. So at one point in time, while I was working, like this was the only motion I could do right here. Like I was literally like, okay, I'm helping customers. I'm moving around in the business. It's like, I can't rotate my head. And like, I knew that something was wrong. And it's like, I could not pinpoint what it was. And so just imagine like how difficult it is not to be able to turn your head like this.
Right.
Yeah. And so like, another thing was like, even like the morning times, the morning times were the worst. It's like, I wake up in the morning, the alarm would be ringing, right? And me, I don't put the alarm next to me, because if I put the alarm next to me and like I hear it, I'm going to hit like, okay, snooze, snooze. So I make sure to put that alarm, a little bit far away. And so like the thing is, I wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, the alarm's ringing. It's like, oh, I got to get out of bed. But, I can't get out of bed. I kind of like, So I have to kind of roll off the bed a little bit so that my knees are on the ground. And then like my chest and my arms are still on the bed. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I get off this bed? And how do I get to that alarm clock that's ringing? And so it's just this like, it was this long process where it's taking me like at least 1, 2, 3 minutes just to like roll off my bed and then get on my knees and then have my arms on the bed and then to somehow lift myself up to get on the ground. And then once I'm like vertical and I'm standing, right now I actually got to still walk to the alarm clock to turn it off. But it's in the morning, so my body's so stiff that, I'm literally like taking baby steps just to get to the alarm clock. So I don't know if like you've seen like somebody in their 70s. That's why I say like, I felt like I was trapped in a 70-year-old body, is because it was times like that in the morning when I'm waking up. It's like, how do I get to alarm? And I'm just like kind of like moving little by little, baby steps. And it's like I'm stiff as crazy, trying to get there. And so that's why I say, it's like I felt like I was trapped in a 70-year-old body that I just didn't recognize at all. And, and so during that period of time, I lost a ton of weight also, just because of what was happening, both the physical pain and then also the emotional and the mental pain from the work environment that I was in, and just all the circumstances that I was surrounded by. And so that was all the physical pain that I was dealing with. But that doesn't even cover the emotional pain that I was dealing with as well. And so, did you want me to dive more into it, or do you have other questions?
Well, the question: did you go to the doctor? Like, what were they saying when you went to the doctor?
You know what? I was not. I was visiting a few different people actually. Mm-hmm. So I didn't visit the doc because I was working. So because of the circumstances, I was working around the clock. I was working from morning time until nighttime. So that was one of the things that made it a little bit more challenging, was that because of the circumstances, I wasn't really able to go out and get too much help. I was able to see, chiropractors. I was able to get massages on a weekly basis, and I was able to do a couple of other things as well. But what I found was that none of those really helped me. So for example, I was seeing my chiropractor once or twice a week, and I was getting regular adjustments and then massages. But the thing is, like, he'd adjust me and then I get the massages, right? And then like I feel a little bit better. But then after like a day or two later, the stiffness and the pain, it would kind of set back in again. And then I'd be like, oh, what's happening? So it was more
like temporary relief, and then it would just return.
Right. It was more temporary. That's
So
where it
when
was.
did you realize that it wasn't physical and that it was mental and emotional stress?
No, I didn't realize that until about actually what happened was it wasn't until I got better that I looked back on my journey, right? And I was like, okay, I know what happened. It's like I know what caused my physical pain. It was the emotional pain that I experienced and also the mental pain I experienced from the business. Whereas when I was in the midst of my pain, right? I couldn't figure it out. And that's why, so the pain started at 32, right? And so literally from the age of 32 all the way until the age of 35, 36, right? All I did was I was just looking for, I was looking for solutions. So I was trying out anything and everything. And so I have a long list of different things I did, you know, chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, I was doing rolfing, I was doing alpha biotics, I was changing my diet, I was doing intermittent fasting,
Wow.
I was doing detoxing, I was drinking a ton of smoothies and greens and juicing, and I was there's so many that, you know, I was trying any and all modalities at that point. And a lot of them, they worked and then they didn't work. So it would work and then I get really encouraged. I'd be like, okay, great, this is working. But then it's like after a week, maybe after, they might be good for a few days or maybe even like a week or two later. And then boom, you know, like a pain would happen. Like the neck pain would happen. It's like, okay, I can't move anymore. Or, you know, the stiffness would come back. Or all of a sudden I'd be walking really slow again. And so that's what I did for a good 3-4 years, where I was just trying anything and everything to find the solution. And so the turning point happened when I started incorporating more emotional work. So when I started doing more of the internal work to uncover what was happening. Now, back when this happened, right, I didn't really think that this was a solution for me, because I was still focused so much on the physical body and trying to fix it. But it was at that, you know, after a few years of doing this, you know, and nothing really working, you get to the point where it's just like, you know what, I'm going to try anything.
Right.
And so that's what I did. So I started focusing on the emotional aspect, because you have to get, you know, it's like, in addition to the physical pain that I was experiencing at the dry cleaners, the other thing that I was experiencing was like my mind was constantly like racing. Like it was racing like 1,000 miles per hour. Like literally, it felt like I was in like fight or flight mode when I was at work. Like there was so much work to be done that I'd always be looking at the front door of the workplace, and like every time a customer would walk in, I'd be like, oh. It's like, and that sounds kind of weird, but like you have to get like, you know, our store was really, we had multiple stores, but our store was really busy. I was averaging over 120 new customers a month, right? In addition to all the customers we already had. And so, you know, like the store is busy, you know, you're answering phone calls, you're handling stuff on the computer, you know, inquiries on the computer, and then you're prepping the clothes, and then you're organizing things, and then you're still helping customers also. And then with dry cleaning, you know, you have to like inspect all the clothes and, you know, check for stains and all those type of things. And then even when the clothes come back all clean, you gotta check them to make sure they're still correct, that the count is correct, and then that way you put them where they're supposed to be. And so this was all part of my daily duties that I was doing, right?
Not to mention dealing with personalities.
Exactly, the personalities.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say, you know, I'd be looking at the front of the store and I'd be like, please don't come, you know, please, no more customers, no more. Because I'm like still moving around really, really slow, you know? And so that's where I was like, oh, I was in fight or flight mode. And it's like, my mind's kind of going crazy, you know, it's like racing at 1,000 miles per hour. And like, I'm just like, no, I got to get my work done, because if I don't get my work done, I won't be able to go home.
Right.
And so that was the thing that I was like, you know, that's not right. You know, it's like my that's not right that I'm viewing my customers at the dry cleaner in that manner, where it's like I'm hoping that they don't come in the door. And that's when I knew that something was wrong. You know, it's like, hey, you know, it's like, I know I got physical pain, but like, hey, you know, like emotionally and also mentally, it's like I shouldn't be viewing them in that light. You
Right.
know, so
You
at
should
that
be
point, it
happy to
kind of
come to
clicked.
work and love what you do. It shouldn't be
Right.
a chore like, ugh.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you start doing to tackle your emotional stress?
Well, I did a couple of different things. Let's see what we got. There's different exercises that I started seeing different practitioners, and I started reading a lot of different books and just experimenting. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I found eventually was I started finding different techniques and modalities that were able to allow me to kind of tap into whatever the emotions that were going on, and then from there I was able to tune in on it and then just kind of release it. And so that's actually kind of that's part of the strategies I use today on my clients that I work on. It's the same. So pretty much what I do is everything that worked on me, that's what I'm doing on my clients that I'm working with. So like I spent years and years just trying out different modality after modality after modality after modality. And so for me, when I'm working with others, it's just finding the most direct path. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's direct path to just minimize the amount of time to get better. And so that's what my program is. That's what I created.
Okay. So
Mhm.
are you, what is it, are you a mental health coach, or what's your title?
No, I'm not a mental health coach. No, I say I work. So it's pretty much what it is. It's called Ed is Pain Free. It's how I healed my physical,
Mhm.
emotional, and mental pain. And
Okay.
so what I use is I use a variety of strategies that worked on me, and I use it on other people. That's what it is.
Okay. Okay. So you just help people de-stress and figure out what the stressor is, and then I've heard of that before. I don't know, are you familiar with when Raven Simone, like it was years back, she had lost a lot of weight and everyone asked her how did she do it, and she said, I just eliminated stress, and no one believed her. Like, no, you went to the gym, you did something.
No, yeah,
But I never think of how people struggle with certain things like weight or certain things like mental health, when it's something, it could just be something in your life that's just pressing the button, and it's constantly pressing it to the point where now it's affecting you physically. So the concept of figuring out what is toxic in your life and eliminating in your life just start to align is not far-fetched to me now. Like when that story happened, I'm like, yeah, but I've read some stories similar to yours where it's like, yeah, I was sick, but then I did this and this, I meditate, yoga, whatever, and I'm aligned, and I'm like, what? Wow, just a change of perspective, or just like I said, eliminating that bug, in your life can just legit change it.
right. You
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people that, I mean, especially now with the pandemic, and I don't know, just 2020 and 2021, they're down for whatever. What little tidbit would you have for someone that is stressing out? Like a little daily tidbit that they can utilize, or a tool they can utilize to combat that stress, like the daily stressors.
Right. I would say gratitude and love.
Mm,
But the thing is that to somebody listening in, like if they're just hearing gratitude and love, that might not mean a whole lot to them, because if they're stressed out or they're in pain or something's bugging them and they hear gratitude, love, it's like they're like, "Come on, you don't know my situation. You're
right,
crazy, right?"
right.
And so I would say, and that was me back then too. I'd be like, if somebody approached me back then when I was in pain and I had anxiety and my mind was chattering like crazy, and I was angry and depressed and resentful, and they told me, hey, just be gratitude, be grateful, have joy, have more love. I'd be like, no, no, you're crazy. Go away now, you
Get
know,
out of here.
get out of here. And so what I discovered over the years, especially kind of like where I'm at right now, looking back, I discovered that in order to get to the point where you're grateful and you're joyful and you're, just loving and you're in peace, is not to focus more on the being loving and the joyful and, and just be grateful. No, it's not that. The solution I found, at least for myself, was to figure out what the heck is causing me to, what the heck is the stressor? What's causing me to feel depressed? What's causing me to feel, anxious or fearful of what's happening? Especially with like 2020 and 2021 going on. When I look back at 2020, that was actually my best year. I was like, regardless of whatever was happening, I was calm. I was peaceful, joyful. That was my favorite year in the midst of everything that was going on. That might sound a little bit strange or unusual, but that's the truth. And the reason it was my best year, just like 2021, is because of all the, like, everything that I did to fix myself, all the techniques and the modalities I did on myself. And that's what I'm bringing to the table with everybody else that I'm working with. And so to kind of like tie it all back, what I did exactly was, I wasn't focusing on the joy that I wanted, the gratitude, the peace. I was actually focusing on the emotions of, okay, so for example, if I was fearful, right? If I was fearful, what was happening? Most people, would you say that they try and like avoid the fear, or they bury it, right? Or they might push it away. So for me, no, I go head on at the fear. You stare it in the face, and then from there, there's certain techniques that I use with my clients, right? And then so through those techniques, you're actually able to blow out that energy completely. So if it's the fear, you blow out that energy. And so the thing is, as you start to blow out the energy and get rid of the fear, as you start to get rid of the depression and the fear, the anxiety, the resentment, right? Then once those disappear, then there's not as much stuff weighing the person down anymore. And so you have to think of it as, okay, you have the emotions of love, joy, peace, gratitude. When you think of it, those emotions are much lighter, right?
Right.
And then when you have the anger and the resentment and the fear and the despair, those feel a lot more heavy. And so one of the things that I do is I help to release, and I help the person identify what those are in their life, what the trigger points are, and just kind of and get rid of that. And that way, once they get rid of that, then they're able to naturally feel more of those higher emotions, joyful, peaceful, grateful.
And that makes a lot of sense, because I believe, and I'm not a mental expert, but I believe sometimes triggers remain because of the act of avoidance, what you just said. Like, I'm fearful, but I don't have time to go head on with that fear. So I'm gonna put it in the suitcase, or I'm not confident about something, so I don't have time to deal with that insecurity. I'm just gonna put it in the suitcase. And then you look up and you have like a whole collection of suitcases of emotions that you just packed away, because you're focused on, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to deal with that. I have to focus on what I'm doing. And you realize that you're going through life, going through the motions pretty much. You're smiling, but on the inside you're about to explode, so I think that's a great perspective of sometimes, well, not sometimes, we avoid emotions. But I feel like growing up, it was, you don't have time to feel. You don't have time for your feelings. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep pushing. And I'm thinking like now, in this age, in this generation, feelings are starting to matter. Like it's okay not to be okay. So I think that that's a great tactic that you use on your clients, to just focus, go head on why you're feeling the way you're feeling, in order to eliminate the trigger. So I think that's a pretty,
right. You bet. And it's even more important in this day and age.
Right.
And so going back to the emotions, each emotion, like depending on how long that emotion has been buried, it could be only like a past year, or it could be something going back from like 10 years ago, from maybe a relationship that somebody had, a bad breakup, or like a fight that they had with somebody, or it could even be something back from like way back, like in their childhood, right? So like if they're still holding on to that emotion, from that like breakup or something like that, right? Then that emotion is naturally when, emotions lead to thoughts that people have. So that one emotion from maybe that breakup from a long time ago, it could be leading to like hundreds, if not thousands of different thoughts that are going through a person's mind. And those thoughts could be like this year, it could be over the course of like 10, 15, 20 years, all these different thoughts. And so what I do is, if a person can actually find the root of that emotion and eliminate it and just like clear it out completely, then it'll eliminate all the thoughts that were created afterwards. Just the charge of it and the energy of it, so that they're not weighed down by it anymore.
Yeah, you just pulling out the root.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. So I know that in your practice with Ed is Pain Free, what are the common internal and external stressors that, in your opinion, you feel people have?
Everybody, about common internal and external stressors. You mean like emotions, or just like the events that are happening?
Emotions, environment, things of that sort. Like what types of things that you have found that people are commonly stressed about?
It's a whole spectrum, whole spectrum. But I'd say the common ones are, fear is a common one, especially in this day and age. It can be fear of anything, it can be fear of the environment that we're dealing with right now, fear of uncertainty, just fear of the future. Hey, am I going to be able to make enough money to pay my bills? Am I going to make enough money to be able to feed my family? Another one is, oh, hey, fear of death. Oh, shoot, am I going to die? It's like, so that's just, one of them right now. Another one might be anger or resentment. Like for example, me, right? Back when I was at the dry cleaners, I had a lot of anger and resentment. And it's just like that affected my life a lot, to the point where like, I'd be talking to somebody and the next thing I know, it's like I'd just be blowing up at them, It's like it would just be kind of like, where did that come from? It's like
Whoa.
Did they say something that really made me blow up?
So when you realized there was the cleaners, going back to that, did you just quit?
No, actually, I didn't quit. No, I couldn't quit because of the environment that I was in. It was a certain dynamics that was involved where, I was in there until we, what was it, for however long it took, or until we sold it. And so the funny thing was, I had wanted to sell that business for a long time. There's a lot of different personalities involved in that business. So it wasn't necessarily just my decision. It was a joint decision between different people. And so even though I wanted to sell it, it didn't mean that necessarily that other people wanted to sell it as well. And so, and I knew this. And so that's why one of the interesting things that I did was, I stopped. I decided that none of that stuff mattered anymore. I decided that I just focus on myself. I'd focus on healing myself physically, emotionally, and mentally. And so that's what I did. So I stopped caring about any drama that was happening in the work environment, any of things that were stressing me in the home or with family or any of that. And I just focused on myself, and I focused on healing myself. And what I found was that as I started to heal myself, emotionally and mentally, I started to get better physically. And so as I started to heal all those things that were weighing me down, that were keeping me heavy, that were keeping me back from being who I truly am, right? Somebody who's filled with love, joy, gratitude, peace. Somebody who's here for a specific purpose, to serve other people, to serve humanity. Once I did that, then things in my life started to change. So I got better emotionally. I got better mentally. Those thoughts disappeared. All the mind chatter and the brain fog that I had and the negative thoughts that I had as a result of the emotions that were holding me down, those disappeared. And then my physical pain disappeared as well. My neck pain, my back pain, the stiffness in my joints, all that disappeared as well. And then another thing that happened was my work environment changed as well. magically, actually, a buyer came in and they bought our different locations. And so here I was in a work environment that I wasn't happy with for years. And then I start doing all this internal work, emotional, mental, and the physical gets better. And then my work environment changes as well. And so that sold, I got out, and then here I am. Now I'm doing this. And so the thing is, back then, you have to get that, it didn't matter to me whether I was towards the end of my journey in the dry cleaners, when I was working on myself, it didn't matter whether that business sold or not. It didn't matter whether I was still working there or not. Because each day that I was going in, I was happy. At least at the end of the business, I was happy. When I was doing my work, it didn't matter that I was, the same mundane work day after day after day, and it was the same long hours, and the customers would be coming in, nonstop. My mentality changed at the end, where I was happy. I was happy. It didn't matter what was happening. It didn't matter that all around me there was chaos or the pandemic was happening. Like even when I was working with the customers, I had a smile on my face and I was grateful because I was grateful for every single one of them that came in, because it's like I saw them as a human being. I saw them as an individual that I was connecting with, heart to heart.
Right.
And so it became more about the business. It became more about the connection with another individual and how I could serve them and help them.
Man, that shows you how perspective is key. I always say that, how your environment, nothing changes, but you can be a different person in the same situation, all how you handle it or all how you think about it. Yeah, I always find that amazing how over time, like even through 2020, I had some time to do some self-reflection. And it's not that, situations have changed, but what have changed is my thinking about it. Do the things that bother me today even going to matter 10 minutes from now? Is it even worth giving your energy to? Just certain thought patterns like that kind of make you realize that life's not so bad. It's not as bad as it seems. And no, it's never going to be perfect, but there are some things that are controllable in life, and that's how you think about it and how you react to certain things. You can always control your perspective in said situation.
You bet.
Yeah. So yeah, I love this. So on BYOK, we have a staple question for everyone.
Okay.
And that question is, if you can describe yourself in one word, what would it be and why?
In one word.
Yes.
Okay. I would say it'd be love.
Why?
And the reason is everything boils down to love. And I'd say that's a reason for why I'm doing what I'm doing today. It's for love for others, love for humanity. But the thing is, like, I wouldn't have figured that out. I wouldn't have been able to get to this point where, I'm able to serve other people from a place of love, unless I love myself first, because everything starts with self. And so it wasn't until I started working on myself and loving myself that I got to the point where, hey, I have more to give. I can start loving other people, and I can start loving others. And so that's really why I'm doing what I'm doing today, is because I look at the world today and I see a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot going on, and I don't see I see a lot. I see a lot of fear and anger and confusion as to what's happening in the world. And so the reason I do what I'm doing is this is my way to be able to make a difference in the world. If I can help just even one person, right, to be able to make that switch from the lower state that they're in right now, where they might be confused with what's happening in the world, or they might be a little bit, angry with their relationships or their family members, or maybe they're fearful of what's going on in the world, or they're fearful about, like, hey, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, what am I going to do? Those are just examples. But if I can just help one person, move from that point where they can release those and get to a little bit higher point, then that's the way I'm going to help contribute to this world, to be able to make a positive difference.
I like that. If I can just touch someone, I like that. I love that. Are there any upcoming projects that you have that you want to announce?
Well, right now I got the upcoming book that I'm writing right now, and that's going to detail everything that I did on myself. So that's going to detail my entire journey. That way anybody can read that, and then they have access to all the things that I did, and so that they can just do it on themselves. But right now I'm also doing a beta program for coaching. So that's where I'm already coaching individuals, and I'm trying everything that I tried on myself out on other people. And so I'm at the early stages of that. And so I'm having great results so far in terms of the people that I'm working with. So, one person I already, she came to me for like brain fog, and like she had memory issues for the past 10 years. After 2 sessions that we got that cleared out. And so now and so that was holding her back from taking on new projects at work. Just having that confidence to be able to take on a project, because she didn't have that before, because she didn't trust her memory. And so after just 2 sessions, she was able to clear that. And then so we figured out what the source of that was. And then so now she has the confidence that she's actually taking on more projects now, and then she's able to generate more money as a result of having that confidence. Or like another person, he was like, in his practice, he had a lot of mind chatter in his mind. And then he was able to, after 2 weeks, right? We were able to kind of clear that out. And then so now he's going through his day just kind of calm, relaxed, and centered. And so that's one of the things that we were doing. So now he's more present with his clients. But a funny thing happened along the way after 2 weeks of kind of, just going through my protocol and fixing those things. What happened after 2 weeks was, this is a 63-year-old guy. And so he was waking up in the middle of the night, 4 or 5 times a night just to use the restroom. And so after just 2 weeks, now he's only, he was messaging me and he's like, hey, it's like, I'm not waking up anymore to use the restroom, or I'm only using the restroom like maybe 1 time. And I'm like, oh, okay. Something's happening,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are just a few examples of what's happening in my beta program right now that I'm doing. And so I'm doing that all for free right now, where I'm doing that beta program for coaching. And so if people want to sign up, they can just go to my website, and that's www.edispainfree.com. So again, that's www.edispainfree.com. And then so if they just scroll down to the bottom, they can enter their name and the email address. That way they can schedule a free Zoom session. And the free Zoom session, usually the first sessions, maybe about like 90 minutes or so, because, that way we have to get to know each other. I have to know their background and stuff like that, and their history, just to see if I can even help them. And then if I am able to help them, then, then we'll work together in the beta program.
Okay. And the entire beta program is free, or after the first consultation, is there a fee for like the second and third and so forth meeting?
Good question. So right now it's entirely free because I'm in the early stages. So it's going to include the first session, the first Zoom session, and then everything moving forward until they're better.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if I'm on the phone every day or we're on Zoom calls every day. It does not matter. It's just from beginning to end, however much support they need. And that's because I'm in the beta stages right now.
Okay. Cool. Well, you guys know where to reach Edmund. I think it's beneficial for everyone to do that, because I believe we all have stressors and we have no idea where they came from. As you were speaking, I was thinking about cancer. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think that some cancers are derived by like an accumulation of stress?
I would say that's probably a fair assessment. Yeah. Stressors cause a lot of things. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
No, stress and emotion, like trapped emotions, they can have a, enormous impact on somebody's health. Right.
Yeah. And I was just thinking of that, how most people before diagnosis, that they had like a lot of like events happen prior to that, and then they just got terminally ill, so I don't know, that just popped in my head. That was random, but yeah. Anything else you'd want to share before we log off?
I'm just gonna say, thank you for having me here as a guest on your show. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for being a guest on the show. Thank you for your perspective. this is pretty eye-opening, and I really feel like people need to free themselves from whatever's holding them back and what's bounding them. And most times I think it's just the mind, and a lot of crazy, I don't know, carnival type thoughts going on in the head. And once you're free from that, then you can truly be, live who you're supposed to be, and live out your purpose, so thank you for your perspective today.
Thank you.
Yes. And thank you all for listening. And don't forget to be your own kind, be kind to each other, and don't forget to be kind to yourself. Bye.